Good evening. I'm Crimson from Shine Light in the Dark, and I am here with the amazing Drew. And he has been so gracious to allow us um, to talk with him this evening and really give us a little moonlight. So, what are y'all currently working on right now?
Right now we're working on some new songs. We have we're trying to make a new album. We have about five that we're really proud of, but I think a lot of artists usually have a couple, 10 to 20 in the bank that, everyone's stoked on working with, but they're just not quite to the level of releasing yet, stuff like that. So just kind of writing a new album and waiting for new music to come out.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. I love y'all's music. Like y'all, so what does that writing process look like for y'all?
Well, the majority of us are based, here in Austin. Our biggest producer in the band is definitely our drummer, Richard. Richie's got an amazing studio. He went to school for recording, and he's definitely the brains behind all that kind of stuff. Fortunately, I've got to learn a lot from him through the past couple of years. I've got, a little studio here set up in my house, so I've learned a lot from him, but typically, whenever we have a few ideas, we'll all meet up at Houston and kind of collect, our thoughts and kind of move. Basically, we'll have like a listening party of like, hey, what have you gotten so far? What have you gotten? And then we'll kind of show each other what we've got. And if AJ's there, then we'll try to get some vocal ideas down. And once we come to a standstill, then we'll kind of start writing stuff together and just vibing it out as a band and stuff. So that's kind of like the new fun way to do it. A long time ago, I think a lot of bands just would have rehearsal space and would kind of jam together like in the garage or whatever room that they could have in their house for doing that kind of thing. But I think as people get older and as technology kind of has gotten more sophisticated without having to actually have like a studio with a bunch of hardware and stuff, you can buy a laptop and download recording software, and it's kind of allowed us to have our own lives. A couple of us got kids and stuff, so I think that's a very cool and unique way to write music. But we also really enjoy being around each other when we're doing that because it's, I don't know, it's more vibey. You know what I mean? Being around each other, it's a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah, you get that energy from each other, right? And kind of
Right.
like bouncing those ideas off and like seeing how like each one of y'all take it and then you get to like kind of take it and like grow.
Of course. And that's the most fun part, is like whenever you get to like write a song together, then you're equally proud of it and everyone's stoked for the world to hear it. Um, I do think sometimes, it can be frustrating. I think if, somebody has an idea and they bring it to the table and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I think this would be a lot cooler switching it right here. And it's like, well, at first you're a little iffy. You're like, well, I'm like married to that part kind of, but then after a couple of hours go by, you're like, oh, I see where they're going with this. And then you're like, you see the whole thing kind of come together. And that's the beauty of it all, I guess.
You know, and what I think is so cool about like when you said that, like you get kind of, it's like they're like your own little babies, right? Like when it's your idea, it's like your baby, and you're like, wait, no, like I gotta protect you and
Right.
make sure that you're safe. You're
Right.
safe.
I think, this goes for all of us is like when you work on something by yourself for a long time, you listen to the same parts over and over, and you're making little, EQ adjustments and little riff tweaks and parts like that. I'm by no means a drummer. Richie, obviously is our drummer, but if I have a guitar part that I'm working on, I have drum recording software where it's like, I can basically write drums even though I'm not playing them in my house or anything like that because I would be terrible at that. I'm not a drummer at all. Um, so I always, want him to put his sauce on almost everything I do because he's the guy with the talent when it comes to all that kind of stuff. But it's always great hearing an idea take off in his studio and really like kind of bring the fire from the gods sound to life. You know what I mean? After we write a bunch of songs at his place, then we'll typically find a producer that whatever label we're working with would like us to go record with, and then we'll kind of finalize it in the studio wherever that might be. The last few albums, it's been with a guy named Eric Ron, based out of LA, and he's amazing. He's worked with tons of great artists, so he's kind of our go-to guy at the moment for the last two albums, but who knows what the future holds. But we love working with Eric though.
No, I love that you were talking about that. And I have to ask you because Fire from the Gods has been y'all been doing amazing and y'all been growing like awesome. And I love y'all's music. Like it always has such a deep message to it. And I have to ask, like when you first joined, and decided that you wanted to be a musician, I believe music is almost like its own entity, right? Like
Mhm.
it never wants to misunderstand us. It doesn't care who we are, where we're from, rich or poor. And as artists, y'all do this amazing job at painting this beautiful world for your listener to go join you in. And in that space, they're safe, and I have to ask, what was the original world you wanted to create? And does that align with the world you are creating now?
So I've been in Fire since about 2004, early 2005. I think our first demo tape was 2005. Um, the amount of seriousness back then probably wasn't even close to as, what it is now. I've always been a band since I first had a guitar. Like that was always something I wanted to do. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends in garages and whether it was us learning cover songs back in the day just to kind of, get our feet wet or whatever it is. Um, I feel like the band dynamic changed a lot with the member change-ups. This particular lineup has been around for almost a little over a decade now. Um, so I think once AJ and Richie joined, then it kind of took a different turn, and it was like, oh, this is the real deal. You know, I think AJ's lyrics kind of also, when you're hanging out with somebody and they have lyrics that you're about, and you see, man, like this actually has meaning now. It's not just like a. I'm not saying anything else before that was a joke necessarily, but song names were kind of a joke. There's always a working title when you're demoing out stuff, right? You start a new Pro Tool session or whatever it is, and you have to name it something. You can't work on it and then name it after. And since I'm not a lyricist, um, and I don't know what AJ's going to be necessarily writing songs about, then it's hard for me to put a real name to a song. So with that being said, I think a long time ago we kind of just leave the name whatever it was, and now it's like, wow, there's actually like meaning to these songs, and uh, you know, the hashtags that he's always using and stuff on different, social media posts, like the "In Us We Trust" and "Unite or Die." Like, I think that kind of represents exactly like what we stand for. And somebody told me a long time ago, they're like, I can never like really pinpoint what genre we are, and they said you sound like kind of like Rage Against the Machine, but with like a Bob Marley message, kind of. And we've always been about, um, love trumps hate always. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot better to spread love than anything else. And so at the end of the day, I think that's a message that we wanted to hold on to. And so a lot of the lyrics, like from what I've gathered, and like I said, I'm not a lyric writer, but not every song is about love and stuff. But I think the ultimate message is, people should learn to live together and not treat each other badly ever. I mean, we definitely have aggressive songs, and I like it whenever I see a mosh pit when we're playing, and that's not necessarily a loving kind of thing, but uh, I think metalheads and the aggressive music world knows at the end of the day it's not a hatred when you're moshing. You know what I mean? It's a fun thing that people do, and I think people enjoy that. But at the end of the day, I think that's something that everyone in the aggressive music world loves to see when they're playing.
No, I actually think that the mosh pit is kind of a form of love. I mean, like I've been to tons of concerts, and in a metal concert, if somebody falls, like they are like the quickest to like
Oh, that's rule
help that
number one.
person
Yeah,
back up.
yeah, absolutely.
But there are other concerts that I've been to that they will almost just like trample them.
Right.
But in metal, like you never, well, I personally have never been to a metal concert where I've just seen somebody like fall down and not people not like almost everybody not go to like
Of
help
course.
them
Yeah.
up, you
Right.
know? And I feel like the mosh pit's so important too because like in life we have so much pent up like aggression and anger. Like, it's a healthy release to where everyone's going there and having fun. And at a rock concert, I can feel misunderstood anywhere in my life, right? But like, I know that when I show up to that concert, that I'm in a room with my people, and that for as long as the concert is going, I'm not going to be misunderstood or misjudged, right? Like, if nothing else brought us together, we all came here because we love, because we love fire, right? And like, we wanted to hear them play tonight. And so everybody has this like thing that brings them together, you know. Um I heard you say that, you weren't a lyricist, but like you really loved like the message that it was, giving out. And, when I hear that, like at its core, what does music mean to you?
I think, a long time ago, I guess when I first started getting into like new metal and whatnot, like I mean, Deftones is still my favorite band of all time. Like I love Deftones forever. And there's so many songs by them where I don't know what the hell Chino's talking about. I'm like, it's just hard to tell. He's a very abstract lyricist, and um the way their songs make me feel, the notes he decides to choose and sing are very unusual. And I think um I I really connect with originality, and I think Deftones has been original for a very long time. And there's a lot of people that, I think everyone to a certain extent, if you're influenced by an artist that you look up to, that's gonna make you want to change your music a little bit to sound kind of like the people you're influenced by. Like that's a massive thing. And I think being original is very hard to do. But what it means to me, I think, is just it makes me feel good if I hear a new band that inspires me. It makes my day better because I'm like, oh shit, like these guys have a whole album I haven't listened to yet, or like there's just a lot of bands that are doing that, and I think that are getting discovered in that world. And if, think about it, like metal and aggressive music is really making a huge impact right now. I mean, like the Turnstiles of the world, the Knocked Looses, all these bands are getting finally the credibility that they deserve and getting to play in front of mass audiences because headlining acts are wanting to take them out. And then people are like, holy shit, like this band's insane. And now they're doing these massive headlining tours, which I think has been, well deserved for a long time. And it's really cool seeing um, brutal music get recognized. I wouldn't say Turnstile's brutal, but I mean, they're on a Taco Bell commercial. Like that's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool to see the recognition that these guys deserve finally popping off for them.
No, I couldn't agree more. And what's funny, like, is when you were talking about like how the music makes you feel, is one of the things I love about music is right, is it's a combination because like, yeah, lyrics can make you feel something, but there's also, even without lyrics and even music sometimes in a language you don't understand, the music itself can bring out, like, what it's almost like it transcends everything, to where you can
Absolutely.
feel it.
Right. I mean, think about bands like Polyphia and Animals as Leaders, that don't necessarily have vocalists. Um,
Yeah.
there's a reason why those bands, first of all, they're some of the most talented uh, musicians I can think of. But they don't have any lyrics, but it makes people feel a certain way. And it's like, it's just a really cool thing to have people really like a band. And it's, I think there's a lot of, I'm not going to say nerds necessarily, but I think a lot of musicians that really latch onto bands like that because they're like, holy shit, like these are guys are, the gods of this scene, I guess. And it's like these guys are a musician's bands. But then there's also people that listen to these bands that aren't necessarily musicians and they just really vibe with the sound of it. And they're like, shit, I could work out to this, I could cook to this, I could whatever, like I always like some kind of background music when I'm doing anything. I mean, like even within like the last year and a half, I sleep with sleep music now. It's weird, but it's like a thing now that I like doing. So, you know, it's just kind of everyone's kind of got their own little background music to whatever it is they're doing, I guess.
No, I love you said that because I actually listen to like the little frequency healing music when I go to
Hell
sleep.
yeah.
That's my I've always
Yep,
got my headphones on with the frequency music going, trying to heal something.
yep, absolutely.
Um, but I love how you were talking about that because like you know, as a therapist, right, like, we were talking about, like, that transcending between, like, words and vocals, and then just, like, the melody and, you know, the riff, the drum, like, everything, right? As a therapist, I like to joke around and say that I'm bound by time and space, meaning, like, I get a client for 1 hour, and you have to be in my vicinity. We have to be able to communicate. So I'm bound by that. But music isn't bound by that. You could almost work with an artist, and if the artist is healing, it's almost passed through their music. Because, like, even right now, somebody could be listening to, like, let's even say, like, right now, and having, like, a huge healing moment from that, and you don't even know they exist. I mean, you're aware that they exist because you love your fans, but in that way of, like, holy shit, like, this is actually transcending, like, my even awareness.
Right.
And I think that that's one of those beautiful things about music is that it has no limits, and it has no bounds. And what you were talking about, like, with a musician's band and, like, things like that, and, like, even to the untrained ear versus the trained ear, that there's still, like, this love and respect that can be used to make such a force that isn't bound by time or space, but is one of the most healing powers in the world.
I completely agree. That's the great thing about art, right? Like, I mean, I think music, I've really become really big into like wanting to like learn how to like do cinematography, and I have a camera now, which is kind of cool. So like I finally decided to invest in a passion that I've always kind of wanted to, be behind. Food, like the greatest things that make you feel are all forms of art in some sense, and I think they're hard to live without. Like it's very rare that you meet somebody that doesn't like music. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I know anybody that doesn't like music. I know people that don't necessarily like going to shows as much as I do, or something like that. But um, I also think that's why I love my job so much, working at a venue and getting to see a lot of bands like when I'm back home and stuff. So it's very nice. But I mean, I love music. I like food. I like art.
You know, and there's this old saying that says that the job of an artist is like that of a lover. It awakens you to the parts of yourself that you never knew existed and shows you a world that you never knew. And, through the passions of, like, even cooking and, you know, through music and cooking and any form of art that we choose to express, it's almost like our soul, when we actually enjoy it and it's a passion of ours, it's like passed through with that, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yes.
Funny side story, I remember this last Thanksgiving, my me and my dog, I have a 17-year-old little girl, so, yeah, you know, they're moody little teenagers, right? Love her to death. But she was in such a mood for, I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving, it may have been Christmas, but I made my pies the way I make them every year, but I was in such a bad mood when I made them, and I swear to God, I took even more time in that pie than normal, but it tasted, I was like, they always tasted amazing. And this particular one, I was like, "What happened?"
Wow.
And then my daughter was like, "It's because you were mad at me, mom." And I was
Yeah.
like, and I'm sitting here like the only thing that I could feel that was different was the essence of, like, I wasn't like, "Oh my god, I love to do this. Let's do this as a family. Let's, like, put all this love and happiness and joy and everything into it." I was like, "Oh my freaking god, let's just get this shit over with," you know?
It was like a chore at that point, huh?
Exactly. And I
Right.
was so not feeling it, and I was like, "Oh, I just gotta have this done before tomorrow." And, she was just being kind of temperamental and argumentative. And I was like, "You know what? Let's just get it done and do it." And the next day, though, I was like, "What happened to the pie?" And
That's
I'm sitting here
hilarious.
and I'm like, "I don't even like you, pie. Like, I normally love you. You were my favorite everything, but, like,
Not today.
not today." And the messed up part was it was made the exact same way, and I think I actually even took more care because I was in such a bad mood to make sure the
Hmm.
pie was good.
That's funny. Yeah, it's weird how I feel like that can be also said when writing a song, right? It's like sometimes though I feel like when I'm pissed off and like I said, I'm not writing lyrics, so it's kind of hard to tell when what the song's gonna be about. But if I'm pissed off, I'm gonna write a pissed off riff. If I'm, you know, not pissed, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna not write heavy music, but there's definitely a tons of songs I have in my little catalog here that are not even close to metal. You know what I mean? Whether it's just like beats and stuff like that. It's whatever you're feeling that day. Um, I don't think it's a very good practice to have an intention to write. This has got to be a heavy riff. I think turn on the guitar and starting a Pro Tool session and just kind of letting whatever comes out, or starting with like a sample or a beat, even if it's not like on drums, it could be more of like a hip hop beat or something like that, and kind of just right into that. Whatever comes out, comes out. But it is funny because I could see how food might be different because you're gonna have to eat it, right? I mean, listening to it, if it's not pretty and nice, it doesn't matter necessarily. But if it's food, it's like a little different.
No, I like how you were talking about though how like that even changes like we said, like you'd write the pissed off riff or like the way that you're even does it even change maybe even the way that you enjoy playing at that moment or connect with playing at that moment, depending
Right.
on your mood as a musician?
I mean, I think definitely in the live setting, like if we've been on tour for, a month and a half and everyone's at their last straw with each other. We've been in the same vehicle for all that time. People start getting, a little aggravated eventually at the end of tour. It's like everyone's ready to go home, see their family, not be, sleeping while you're just bumping around on a highway somewhere. Like I think there's definitely times when we might be a little mad at each other or something like that. And then we go play the show and you get to let off some aggression on stage. And then you get off and you're like, hey, man, we're good. Right. And everybody's like, yeah, that was a great show. Like, I'm glad you're my friend. And then everything's fine again. So definitely, I think on stage, you get to let off a little bit of that steam, which is nice.
I had to ask you though, from the moment, like even when you're just playing alone by yourself, right? Like just creating a riff and you're in there, just kind of messing around to when you're on stage or on tour or the album's released or just playing with the band and just coming up with ideas, where do you feel like you find your cathartic moments with music?
I think it's whenever I'm really stoked on a song, and then because there's plenty of times, right? Like whenever you'll write a song, and then the last thing missing is lyrics or vocal melody of some sort. And if you have an idea because you've listened to it 1,000 times at your own house, and you're like, I really think this would be a cool idea for melody or something like that. And if something just doesn't work out, like to where there's no end result, it's always kind of a bummer because like the song never got finished, and then it just sits in a folder on your desktop, and it just never gets released. That's like a little, a party kind of gets broken when that happens. But whenever it actually does work out and you're like, holy shit, this song is done, it's going to finally get released. It's a cool thing. It's very emotional. It's like I can finally share something with the world that has taken months to come out. Like, I mean, there's a big gap between when you write a riff and when it's released to the public, because the riff has to grow and like has to go get recorded somewhere professionally. And I mean, I guess you don't have to record it somewhere professionally. People release stuff out of their rooms all the time, but um, I feel like we're kind of more of a polished sounding band when it comes to our released music. Like I've definitely had projects to where that wasn't the case, where sometimes you want a less polished sound and you want it to sound more like raw. You know what I mean? Without a bunch of tracks going and like subs, and you want to sound raw, like it was a jam session in a VFW hall or something. You know what I mean? Like you want to sound like you were there at this show, and I think that's huge in the hardcore world, which I think is kind of cool because there's certain bands you'll go see, and you're like, damn, like they don't really sound like the album. And sounding like the album sometimes is it's hard to do if you don't have the gear to do that live as the studio you recorded it in. And I think that's the great thing about hardcore is like you'll listen to a band on CD, and then you go see them live, and you're like, holy shit, they're so much better live. And it's because the recording was, something that maybe they didn't have the money to pay for, or they did it themselves, and it just turns out fucking sick going to see a live band like that because like this is what I want. This is the whole reason why I love hardcore music is because you go see the live show and it's completely different than listening to it in your car. That atmosphere is, I think, one of the coolest genres of music to go witness live.
And the energy that's in the fucking
Absolutely.
room, like that energy just like it's fucking explosive.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
I always joke around, I always say that that's my therapy because I need that to like recharge to be able to even like,
Hell yeah.
there's just something about it that just recharges. Like, I feel like, we all have like a fire inside of us. And music is one of those art forms majorly that really like awakens that back in us, especially when the world starts to lose color, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and I kind of want to go back to where we were talking a little bit about like different art forms. And so I have to ask you, what actually made music the art form that you were like, no, this is the one that I love and that you chose to express, and how did that journey kind of begin for you?
It's funny. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, I was really into like art and drawing and stuff like that. I have not drawn in uh almost I feel like 8, 9 years. It's kind of weird. Like I don't really necessarily miss it. But I used to enjoy it quite a bit. Like I would had a bunch of spray paint, I would had a bunch of Sharpies. I used to work at Michael's. So I was like super into all that kind of stuff. It was one of my first jobs. And then I think my mom got me an electric guitar for Christmas one year. I was like a Squire, a long time ago. And the same year, on my other side of my family, my dad got me an acoustic guitar. So I don't know if I asked for that or I don't remember. I think I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that. I could be way off, but I think it's about that age. Um, and then something just kind of took over. My parents have both always been into music as long as I can remember. Both classic rock, blues. A lot of Austin blues is, I think here in Austin, we have a very unique form of blues. You can tell when you're listening to people like Stevie Ray Vaughan or Ian Moore or Dave Scher or Storyville or even bands like Vallejo and bands that I really grew up seeing a lot, Archangels. Um, there's just something different about the way it sounds here. And I think my dad would take me to concerts all the time. My mom took me to my first big show when I was a kid. It was Creed and Oleander and Our Lady Peace. That was like my first concert, like my first big concert. But my dad would take me to, small shows that he wanted to go to all the time, like Antone, Saxon Pub, um, and a lot of venues that have been in Austin forever. And so I think seeing my parents really like about music, it made me want to play it because I was like, oh, that's gonna make my parents happy. Or, it's like what they enjoy. And ultimately I started enjoying it. And I was like, I want to play on stage so my parents, can come watch me play. And then I just was like, okay, this is it, and then let's get a van, let's hit the road. And then that's when you're like, holy shit, I get to be in a different city every day, go experience something new. And back in the day, we'd get on TripAdvisor. It was like a website where you could go to like figure out free shit to do in Louisville, Kentucky, or whatever, wherever you were at. And I think I fell in love with touring and getting to do all that. I fortunately got to see every state numerous times except for Hawaii. So I think that really made music, hey, this is the one, getting to travel, quote unquote, not free, but at first, you're paying for it, but it was all worth it.
You know, Number one, Creed being like your first, like I'm sorry, I like honed in on that. That's fucking awesome.
Hell yeah.
Um, you know, when you were talking about like music, it's almost like it was kind of like in your blood, like from when you were born, like it was just something that was just like all around, right?
Mm.
And I heard you mention like kind of like the traveling and you know just being able to visit everywhere and to be able to go and when that got hard, what really helped you stay true to that vision that you wanted for your future to play and to bring music out into the world?
Um, I feel like, now it's kind of like I feel like I've seen a lot here in the States. We've got to go to Europe a couple times, which is awesome. I want to go back again. But I think the main thing now is like I guess the road, eventually you do want to come back home. Like I always miss my girlfriend. But she supports me and when I'm gone, like she takes care of business back home and I think that kind of makes it all worth it is like, having her supporting me and we have a kid on the way, so like I don't know how that's gonna, affect anything like as far as like touring soon for me. But it's gonna be nice to, be home now more especially than ever. So
Congratulations. I'm
thank you
sorry.
very much. I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, Gosh, you gotta be so excited.
Very, yes,
Do y'all
first
know if it's
one.
a boy or girl yet?
We are pretty sure it's a girl. We had a blood test done, and they said it was a girl, but there's a small percentage that they could be incorrect. So we'll see.
Well, either way, congratulations. I'm so
Thank you
excited
very
for
much.
you.
I appreciate that.
Um, if you were to give any piece of like advice to newer musicians, what is something that you know now that you wish you had have known sooner?
Um, I feel like, a lot of people they get to a certain point in their, and this is just one thing about that. I feel like they get to a certain point in their music career where it's like, if you don't enjoy it from the very beginning, then it might not be for you. You have to know it's for you. And um, and if you look at the lineup we have right now, AJ is our seventh singer that Fire from the Gods has had. So it's like if something doesn't work out and you feel like it's over, just keep pushing, and eventually you'll find the lineup of people that you want and that you'd want to be around. I think that's another important thing. There's so many bands that I've heard of that are successful now because they started bands with their friends. It wasn't, oh shit, like this guy's not good enough. It's like, let's, instead of going with a guy that's really good on YouTube or really good that, is in your local town, I'm not saying they're not great musicians to be around, but sometimes I think the bands that work out the most are the ones that you start with your friends. Whether or not you're good at the moment, you're starting with people that you like to be around. And I think that's most important. But music, I think, is like just like anything else. It's like if it seems rough at one point, it's like you just got to keep going. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Quit and go do something else. That's also fine too. But um, I don't think it's a bad idea to ever add a new hobby to your catalog of things you like to do. You know what I mean? So, and like I said earlier, it's like I quit drawing, right? I'm not going to say that I'm never going to draw again. I just, for some reason, kind of lost a little passion in that, but found a new outlet. And if you really want to be in a band and stick with it, then that's what you got to do. It's got to keep on. And,
What I love about kind of like what you were talking about, what you've kind of said like the whole time talking about like you know, when it comes to like rock music and the live experience and just being in a band and being around um those that you're close with, those that you love, like that actually you have a relationship with because like let's face it, sometimes you spend more time with them than with your family, right? So being close with them kind of is one of those things that when we're close and we understand each other, it's easier to vibe with that person and like create that beauty that
right.
you want to create. Um, but I love what you keep talking about though, about just kind of like how it brings things together and the recognition of bands being seen and just like the overcoming. Like I heard you say like this is y'all's seventh singer and y'all just kept really you'll kept going. And if it was what you loved, then you found a way to do it and you stayed true to that passion. And I also liked how you mentioned that you used to love to draw, but now you're like, I could reconnect with that version of me that loves to draw. But I've also found this passion that I love to do this and I love to spread that with the world. Um, and so I think that that's really beautiful. I think that, a lot of times we get stuck in ideas of what we should be doing, or like, oh, well, maybe I need to reconnect with this part of me, or oh, maybe I need to do this, or maybe I should do that. And we don't let ourselves just authentically be ourselves in those moments that we want to be in, you know? And then talking about bands overcoming like the challenges and making it through it, y'all even just went on Shipwrecked. So y'all really like have like pushed through it. And I have to ask, how does your inner child feel like that? Mine would be like squealing and doing like happy dances and like all kinds of crazy things.
Absolutely. I mean, I think some of the coolest things for me is yeah, the festivals are my favorite thing for sure. Shiprock, never did I ever think I'd be on a boat playing to a bunch of people that actually enjoy what we're playing and like want to come out of whatever they're doing on the cruise. There's tons of things to do on a cruise, but they want to sit there and watch the band. Like that's it's incredible. Even in the rain, like it was pouring rain our first show, off and on. They had like a weather announcement come on in the middle of while we were playing the voiceless. So we had to like restart the song afterwards, but it was like it was it was just rock and roll. It just felt cool to like I'm like, I don't care about my guitar getting wet. I don't care about my amp maybe breaking. Who cares right now? At that moment, there's people that are there standing in the rain with us, watching us, and like that is what makes it all worth it. That and being able to go play these badass festivals um and getting to do that with my friends. You know what I mean? Like each one of them is an awesome memory. My girlfriend actually got to come with us to Aftershock Festival in California this past time, so that's a memory I'll cherish forever. It's like her first, you know, big festival coming with us. So um, little things like that are just make it always worth it.
What was that moment, that you were like, oh shit, I made it? Like what was that realization? Like I can do this. This can be life.
Right? You know, I don't really know if I've ever felt like I made it. I think it's I don't know if it's because I have bigger goals and I don't want to say I've accomplished them or not in my head because I think there's always room for improvement in anything that people do or anything that I do, especially not anyone else, myself. But also I feel like there are certain times when I'm like, oh shit, like we're out here, like this crowd is fucking sick. Like there was one that we played. I think the first one was Carolina Rebellion or Not Fest Mexico. I can't remember which one it was, but at those festivals, you know, there's like multiple stages. There's tons of different bands people could be watching, like 3 to 5 stages, sometimes more than that. And you'll kind of peek over the stage while you're side stage kind of waiting. You're like, shit, there's no one here. Like, this is going to suck, you know, kind of getting in your head about it. And then, you know, we always kind of chug a White Claw or we kind of, you know, start doing like a little chant to ourselves or getting each other hyped up. And then, you know, 15 minutes goes by super quick and all of a sudden it's go time. And we go up on stage and it's like, whoa, people are actually here now to watch us because they're just walking from one stage to the next stage or whatever. And I think that is a massive payoff is when you say if you make it, you know, or whatever. I think that's always really cool to see like people want to go check out your set when they have, you know, tons of other bands they could go witness and stuff. So that's really cool.
No, I could only imagine, like you said, because the festivals, everybody's moving constantly, and then like you see everybody like hone in. It's like, oh shit, like everybody's
Yes.
like, oh my God, y'all have arrived. What
Yes.
what is your favorite song to play live, and what is your least favorite song to play live?
Oof. I don't want to break anyone's heart with this one. I like playing we call them like festival bangers, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of songs. I mean, if you look at our Spotify, there's definitely songs that we probably should be playing when it comes to like the most popular songs. We should be playing those, right? But at the end of the day, the heavy songs I think are the ones the band likes to play because it's just more energetic. It's a lot more fun to like rock out to those than the softer ones. So I would say my favorite song to play live is In Spite of Doubt. Um, I'm not gonna say shit, what is my least favorite? I like playing right now, but it's kind of just getting to be like one of those songs where I'm like, I don't know. And I hate to say that, but it's like it's becoming the one, you know what I mean? I do like it when people, sing with us and stuff like that, though. So that's always really fun to hear the crowd singing the words. And I think most people, if they have a song that they know from us, it's probably that one. Big thanks to Octane and Jose Mangin for
Thanks, Drew, for breaking my heart.
that.
I'm kidding. But right now, no, I love all those bangers. Right now was the first. I think right now was like my first, like really. I had heard some music from y'all before, but right now was the one that I was like, oh my God, like it caused me to like totally like, go download all the everything, And so I guess it has a special place in my heart because it was like that, when you hear that first song from a band that you really like get like attached to, you're like, oh yep, that's it. And then like you
Absolutely.
love all their other music. But like in a band though, I could see how there would be those songs that like when you did like have that song that came out that everybody learned, you know, and what would be frustrating too would be sometimes like when that's the only song they know. Um, but also that one just becomes the one that you kind of like it's like, I played you
Right.
so many times. I love you, but I've played
Yes.
you so many times. My energy for you is like
Right.
it's
I do
gone.
think I do think that song definitely encapsulates what the band's message is about the most, though. So with that being said, I understand why that was the one that people kind of attach themselves to, because realistically, that is the message that we're trying to say to people. And um, I think it came out at a perfect time for people to kind of get that message. There's a lot of other songs I think also kind of have a message that was very particular for the moment they came out. But that one definitely, as a whole, is I think the message of the band. So it makes sense that that's the one that was the most popular. And it's a weird thing too is when you're about to release an album, um, a lot of bands now are doing like single, 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 and then they'll release the album, which is definitely a smarter way to do it, in my opinion. Um, but there's definitely been times when you release the whole album and you're like, shit, which ones are people gonna like? What's gonna be the one that people gravitate towards? Like, we know what we like, but it's you don't really think about the songs that you like compared to like what the masses will like. You know what I mean? And I think what we like is because we like to play those, you know, at practice or whatever. Like this one's fun to play, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything when it comes to radio play or the um, I guess the mass population, like what are they gonna like? You never really know. So it's always really kind of exciting and scary, wondering which ones people are gonna like the most.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. But what I think was really cool about that album is that whole album had a shit ton of depth through it. Like that I really felt like just like would take your soul to places that your soul was like, damn, but very inspiring at the same time because everything was kind of like that fight through to the other side, you know. And y'all had song like I mean like y'all's songs were just kind of back to back that way, which I honestly I really love like all of y'all's music, and AJ does a wonderful job at like really making that authentic like just like kind of cry out for the soul like come through. But when you were talking about those ones that y'all like to play and like not knowing like which one fans will connect with and stuff the most, I think that those ones that y'all connect with the most too are so fucking important too because that's what keeps your energy like and that passion to like, yeah, I want to fucking get on stage and I want to continue to like do this. I think that like there's like that crazy balancing act of like where do I still find this the most amazing good time because touring's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You are away from your family. You're living a kind of, you know, in very close contained quarters for a little while. Even though it's beautiful because you're traveling over the whole world and like being able to see different cities and people all the time, that can be strenuous. And so that love and that passion is that driving factor. What are your
Yes.
kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, we're lucky because we have tons of people that we get to see every single tour. There's the same regulars, if you will, that'll come out and we have friends that, New York City, we have friends in Idaho, we have friends in California, like the same town, just like who's gonna come out? And as closer we get to the date, you get the text message or the whatever it is, and it's like, hey man, you coming out? And it's like, hell yeah, I'll see you. So it's always kind of good reconnecting with fans and stuff like that. This Shipwrecked, it was so cool. We have these I'm not gonna say few, but there's a few diehards, and the majority of them were on the boat. Sherry Shea was there, Don Mills, Meredith. I mean, and these are like our diehard fans, and they've been wanting us to do Shipwrecked for a long time, and so it was very cool to finally like get to hang out with them and like you know just be out in the elements with them and like getting to witness so many cool rock bands. I mean, like Beartooth was on there. There was just so many great bands on there, and getting to hang out in their presence and watch. Holy shit, this is like we're on a boat rocking out, and up next it's in a different little room and just wander around and get drunk and listen to badass bands play all day. It was really cool. But I think seeing the homies city to city always kind of makes the next day really exciting to get out of the RV and go mingle around and say what's up to people. So
No, that's cool though that you've had those experiences and that y'all do connect like that, with fans and really put y'all's selves out there. Um, I have to ask though, and this may be kind of a crazy question because I can tell how much you love music, but like, is there ever a part of you that changes the way that you see music because music is now your job?
Um, I wouldn't say so necessarily. I mean, as you know, I work at Come and Take It Live. Um, I have never enjoyed a job as much as I enjoyed there. I mean, Anthony Stevenson is our TM when we're on the road. So getting to hang out with him, and he's my boss at work. It's incredible. Him and Ben Davis are the coolest bosses ever. I mean, I just don't feel like I've ever been like really um, taken care of like the way that they take care of their staff. It's just very uncorporate, and they love that. And I think everyone that works there really recognizes that they take care of their staff, and it's really cool to just be around music that much more. And I don't know, we're hanging out at a bar. It's not like uh it's not like I have to be there, like I don't feel like I have to be there, but I want to be there. When we got back from shipwrecked, I keep saying shipwrecked because we were wrecked for a minute. When we got back, I came down with COVID, and I've never like missed work before, but after like being gone for a week and then having COVID and I couldn't go back to work, I was like, holy shit, like I kind of miss being able to work, as weird as that sounds. Um, I think that's a very good problem to uh miss work. You know what I mean? So
No, like that's an amazing problem is to miss work. You,
yeah.
you know, and I love that you were talking about like how well taken care of you were and stuff like that because I think that that's so important. But I kind of want to go back because I know we had talked a little bit about like how the boat the ship wrecked literally, but I
Yes.
didn't know you got COVID afterwards too. So like,
It sucked. The whole band got COVID except for Richie, I believe. I think he's the only one that did not. And none of us knew we even had it. Like, I think boats are very kind of, I'm not gonna say gross because it didn't look gross, but there's thousands of people walking around in the same elevators, the same staircases, and you're kind of bumping elbows with people as you're trying to watching the shows. And um, if you think about it, cruises are kind of a gross thing, I guess, at the end of the day. But yeah, I would have never known that I had it. Anthony was my roommate on the boat. So as soon as we got back home, he texted everybody and was like, yeah, man, I think I got COVID. Kind of sucks. So everyone tested, and yeah, we all had it. So I just tested once every day until I wound up negative. But went back to work 4 days ago. So we're back at it.
and that's good that it sounds like none of y'all had any serious symptoms.
No, thank God. I mean, like, I think it treats everyone different. Very lucky that no one really, had a terrible time with it. So I'm glad on that.
I want to make sure I honor your time, but before we go, I have to ask because, like, you know, like the other night we went to see Fear Factory, and I was walking by and I saw the drumsticks like on the table, and I was like, you know what, those drumsticks are mine. They just don't know it yet. And so then of course, like we go and I got the Fear Factory drumstick, like that he
Hell
threw
yeah.
out. And
Hell
I was
yeah.
like, holy shit, I manifested that. And so then I'm thinking about like Shiprock's name, like when you kept calling it Shipwrecked,
It's stuck in my head because the whole time I kept calling it that, and now it's like in my head.
and then it wrecked. It was
Yeah,
shipwrecked.
it
What
was
ended
for a
up
minute.
happening with the boat? Like, how did it wreck? Did it just like what happened? And was it people on the boat when it happened?
So we docked up before I woke up. I want to say it was probably like 6 a.m. or something like that. The wind was pretty bad, so I'm sure it wasn't the driver's fault. But once we were docked up, a lot of people got off the boat. Me and Anthony were kind of hungover still or whatever, so we're like, no, screw it, we're gonna sleep a little bit longer. And the majority of people got off the boat. Everyone in the band got off the boat except for me and Anthony. And I'm sure a bunch of other people too, but I think a few thousand people got off. And the wind kind of picked up, and that caused the ship to rock into part of the pier and puncture a hole in the side of the boat. Um, no offense to Carnival or the staff of Shipwrecked at all. They took care of everything. They made sure everybody was safe, very on top of all that kind of stuff. They had somebody fly out overnight to check on the ship and make sure everything was fine to cruise away later on. But it stranded a bunch of people that were on the ship off the ship. So we had to basically pull away from our pier. We had to wait for another cruise ship to undock from where they were. And by that time, there was a bunch of people that wanted to get back on the boat, but they couldn't until about, I mean, it was after dark. So there's a ton of people stuck at Margaritaville in Jamaica for a few hours, I'm guessing. By the time the rest of my band got back on, they were very happy to get on. But it was quite the experience. I would never in a million years would have thought we were to, rip a hole in the side of the boat.
Y'all rocked it that hard, man. I'm telling you. Y'all came to rock out at Shiprock. Y'all just
Hell
rocked
yeah,
the shit out of the boat.
absolutely.
Um, and for my last part, I believe that you can tell a lot about a person by what their current jam is. What is your current replay song?
Like from different bands, right? From a different band.
Mhm.
Shit, I'm really into right now. There's some local heroes of mine in this band called Drip Fed. If you haven't heard them, check them out. They're on all the streaming platforms. Um, Old friends of mine. Everything they release is amazing. So I'm gonna say Drip Fed, and my favorite newish band that I've been jamming is a band called Newcomer from New York. Um, Shout out Tommy and uh, all those dudes. Kevin, I forget their singer's name, but their new stuff is amazing. Um, that's kind of my go-to right now. I'm always looking for new music though, so um, yeah, let me know if you got anything new to listen to because whatever genre it is, I'm down for it.
No, I love that because I'm always looking for new music too. So what would be the first song that you would recommend by both of them for me to listen to? What would be that
Gosh,
first one?
I would have to bring it up on Spotify to be honest, and I'm recording on my phone. I'm not too good about remembering that kind of stuff.
No, you're totally good. You can totally text it to me later and I can add it. And guys, I can
Perfect.
add it in the bottom in the description so that y'all know.
Absolutely.
And guys, thank you so much. I really truly appreciate you for coming on here today um and I want to make sure I honor your time. But is there anything else you want everybody to know before you go?
I just want to thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Like I'm not asked to do these a lot, so thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, no, thank you. And it was really an honor speaking with you and I truly appreciate you and all that you do. And so thank you again so much and I hope that you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much. It was good talking to you.